Good afternoon or evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Oak Island Research Channel. I'm happy to talk to you today. It's been a while, and been working on this because the Zina Halpern map that we decoded with Michael has not been fully decoded, and Le Bateau and Le Barque are some elements that trigger my imagination. So I'm going to share with you my thoughts on this one. And I think it's going to be interesting. Let's start. So first of all, I'm going to have to give you, Michael, and the community, a crash course on French language about how to pronounce bark. It's not Barque. You don't pronounce the two last letters. If there are vowels in France, you forget about them at the end of a word. So really the way to pronounce it in French, it's une barque, which sounds like bark, like a dog barking, a bark. So if you talk about the bark way, no more bark way. Like bark is a bark, B-R-Q-E, is pronounced like a bark. The definition you would find in a modern dictionary is a small boat. That's all they say about a bark. But if you ask somebody in the streets of Paris, please draw me the picture of a bark, you will find, or if you ask Google, you type bark and you're looking for pictures, that's what you get. So in antiquity, in the Middle Ages, a bark could be a 300 feet long ship with people rowing, but with time, now modern French, and I think I would say since the 1800s, a bark is that type of device. On the top right corner, you see from the Rochefoucauld Grail, I found a miniature with a bark, because it is a small boat, 3 people, even though it's got a sail. And we will revisit this picture because it's got something in it that may be interesting for our story. But that's a barque. Small boat, tiny boat, 2-3 people max, usually with oars, sometimes with sails. Whereas a boat, a bateau, generic name of vessels likely to navigate on inland waterways or at sea. You don't go in your little skiff at sea. So if you type boat now in Google, that's what you get. So Bateau, and you pronounce, I couldn't find an easy way for American or English to pronounce Bateau, but I guess Bateau is okay. It's a boat, the translation. So it can be any size, with sails, no sails, etc. And the author of the map is making a distinction between Le Bateau and the bark, though it represents it exactly the same way. So that puzzled my imagination, and that makes me ask the question, why? What's the story behind this? And we haven't decoded that at all. What we have decoded is the hump, but I'll get back to this in just a second. So the Zina Halpern's map is, to my understanding, divided in several blocks of riddles or areas. So at the bottom, you got the South Indian with the fish. Top left corner, we've got the map and the location of the devices you're supposed to find or act with. The top right corner is a clue based on a verset rhythmic mechanism about Alexandrines. And we decoded that. And you also got the quadrant block, the atterrissage block, and don't go there with the boat block. That's what I identify as several blocks. Now, Michael and I managed to explain pretty much, I wouldn't say everything because you never know, but we've got a comprehensive model of what these are. So I put it in green. I decoded this part with Michael, but this is more dealing with the French language, rhythm, poetics, etc., which give us clues on how to draw lines to match the island geometry. Michael cracked this one, which is not a date, it's a distance, of course. And we know how to use this distance now and what it means. And we cracked the quadrant because the quadrant is actually the... do I have a pen working here? No pen working. Okay, I can't write. It's the 45,552 points, as explained by Michael, but also by Erin Halpern, though we think she misplaced her starting point. Her analysis of the original money pit is wrong to our calculations, or rather the calculations provided by the Zina Halpern's map. So we know this big arrow is La Hampe. And we know the intersection point of the quadrant is the 45, 5, 22 because that's what the map asks you to do. Notice first thing, never on the map the word hump is written. The hump word comes from la formule. And la formule are a set of instructions for traveling. And when you follow those instructions from the money pit, you end up on the first leg of the journey at la hump. That's what they say, 522 la hump. And it matches when overpositioning this as an overlay to the island, it locates the 45, 522 la hump. But on this map, they never mention la hump. So they don't code it this way, but they drew it this way. So that was decoded because we know the location. That is not decoded. Gosh, have I spent hours on this? Anagram, substitution, you name it. I still don't have the key to this riddle. Neither that one. There's something in there, but not cracked yet. D'Aprenustria is still not cracked, even though I and other people suggested many interpretations. To me, it's not satisfactory. We have not understood the mechanism that drives this riddle, to me, yet. And, of course, la Barque and le Bateau, we don't know what it is. In one of the videos I made, I showed that there was something with a buoy, a water buoy here, something floating, but we really haven't cracked it yet. So that's what we're starting with, and we're concentrating on le Barque. Le Barque should be la. There's a misspelling, probably on purpose. And le Bateau, which is correctly spelled grammatically. So let's concentrate on this part. What can we notice? I wish my pen was working. I'm very upset, so I'm going to have to do this. Oh, it's not working at all anymore. So I'm unplugging my tablet, replugging my tablet, and maybe with a bit of luck, yeah, I can write. Maybe. Yes. And if I go full screen, yeah, I got it. Okay. So what's noticeable about this quadrant, and not the quadrant, but the Le Barque and Le Bateau? When you look at the left-hand side picture, you notice that all those locations have got a little twist in the branch showing the location. That little twist there, every time. Here, am I missing one? Here with the legs of Ian. I think I got it. And you notice that Le Barque does have it. I take it that Le Barque is a device to be located. And Michael, please bear with me because we never talked about it this way. I never shared my thought with you on that one, but obviously the author is stating that this is locatable. Note, Le Bateau doesn't have it. Le Bateau is a straight, weird line that does that. I don't think Le Bateau is a locatable device. That's my first observation. And I think I only discovered that a couple of days ago, even though I spent years on this map. And there is a difference. And we know nothing is left to chance. Everything is by design. And it's obvious that you find this Z design like any other here location device and you don't on the Bateau. So I take it that Le Barque needs to be located. It's a device. We don't know what it is. But Michael, I think you and I have got some homework to do now and try to understand where to find the location of this barque. That's the first observation. Now, what the heck is this shape? They say Le Barque and Le Bateau, they should be things you go on the water and sail with. But it's not very hydrodynamical. I would never sketch a boat like this. I would sketch, when I teach sailing and you quickly draw a boat, that's your boat. You don't put anti-hydrodynamic devices on the boat. You don't. You want it to flow. You don't want it to exert strength on water. So those things are definitely not part of a boat. Or maybe it's an old boat with oars, like a Viking's drakkar. But the oars would be aligned, and they're not. And you don't represent an oar by this, that a square like this. That's just so strange. Doesn't work to me. It's not a boat. And ships don't have penis. What is that little thing at the back of the boat here? Oops, sorry. That it's not a rudder. A rudder wouldn't. I don't think it's a rudder. The rudder would be underneath. You don't see the rudder. The rudder is under the water. So why did they took the time to draw this on top of the square and the rest? It is important. It's got a meaning. Otherwise, they wouldn't draw it. So first observations. I don't believe it is a boat or a barque at all. It doesn't make sense graphically. I was thinking some time ago, maybe it's the money pit vertically. But if it's the money pit, again, what's the little thing here? That doesn't exist in the representation of the money pit. You don't have a narrow entry and then a wide entry. That's not how the historical description of the discovery work. Bear in mind that in mining industry, they would represent a mine this way, yes, or rather this way. But I don't think it's I don't think it's the money pit. Why two? Why call them the boat and the barque? It doesn't make sense. And if I had the logs, if those bars were the logs they would find, I would draw a rectangle to show that they are logs, not two separate items on each side. One item, one item, one item, one item, etc. So I do not believe it is a representation of the money pit at all. So what is it? Took me some time. Well, it took me a lot of time. First hypothesis or realization is we're talking about a water system. Yeah, we're dealing with water and we're dealing with tunnels of water and with hydrostatic pressure of water and difference of level of water between the high tide and the low tide. Yes, we're playing with this. And we know la hampe is a mechanism that blocks water. And this is la hampe. It's part of the la hampe diagram since it's the quadrant, even though they don't say it's la hampe. So I was originally thinking these are sluice gates to restrict water from entering. But it doesn't make sense. Why three? I don't understand three. Well, you don't need three. You need one sluice gate. You don't need three. It's redundant. It doesn't make sense. Especially if la hampe is an apparatus that directly controls the mechanism. So it's not that. So I search. And I found this one day. This is a lock dam blueprint from long time ago, American, and they got a website I put on the bottom. We're going to visit this website now. But before anything, look at the shape. I've got my front and I've got the body. And at the end of the body on the side, I've got those squares or rectangles. What are they? They're, after analysis and research, and I know more about lock dam than I should now. These can be both reinforcement of the structure because of the water pressure pushing on the side, and you don't want to have it shape or bent because you would leak water and your dam would be destroyed. But they also act as water intake on some models of lock dam where you got a water canal there linked with the high pressure canal, and you distribute the water when you want your ship to go up and down. So we don't have any ship going up and down, like traveling underneath the Oak Island. There's no lock dam under the Oak Island, but there is a structure here that seems to be controlling intake and outtake of water. And let's have a look at this website for a second together. I just want to show you this first. This is an enlarged version of that lock dam, and you can really see the nozzle and the reinforcement structure on the side, which allows water in. So it looks a lot like the picture we have. Let's have a look at the website. It's quite interesting. It's here. So this is a story worker at Willow Dam find drawings of a Muscle Shoals Canal lock. And some of the pictures are interesting, specifically this one. Can I zoom? Yes, I can zoom. I can zoom. Oops, sorry. I need to go back to the picture itself, and I need to zoom. And oh, it doesn't like it. Okay, anyways, here you can see a side cut of the dam and the mechanism that's behind it. That's a really sweet picture, actually. And what do we have here? It's from 1899, so of course ours is probably way older. Another picture. It's torn apart. That's a pity. What else do we have here? Interesting. Yeah, the control mechanism of the valves, but that doesn't really concern us. But I think it's a great find. It's very interesting, that shape. So I started to work with that hypothesis. The shape we're seeing, the boat and la barque, the shape is some kind of a lock dam allowing water to flow in or to stop. Hey, wait a second. That story we like. La Hampe is a device controlling the intake or not of water from the ocean into the vault. So this looks like a potential answer, but why? Why are they mentioning this? Why isn't just a sluice gate controlled by the hump and voila, that's it? Why do they have to build such an apparatus? That's where it's becoming quite interesting. Let's carry on our journey. Other pictures of lock dam. My gosh, the one on the left-hand side, huh? You see those 3 squares of reinforcement on the side. Very interesting. That picture I love because you got everything there. You got everything. You've got the pillars, except they're on the other side in our picture, in our model. And you have the sluice gate at the back, or the opening gate, which I'll come back to in a second. And you got a boat inside. So would I call this the boat? Hey, if it was a place in France, the only place where a boat was still in the lock dam, everybody would call it on a map, and the place is called the boat lock dam because the boat is still in it. So I'll get back to that idea later. I do the picture here so you can have a look. And this is very interesting because you see this sluice gate, which is not a sluice gate, it's got an angle. Why? Because it must resist the high pressure. That's very important. The high pressure. If you got a front door and you got a high pressure, you got less resistance than if you got a bend door. And the more you push, the more it will exert pressure on the joining point, making it watertight. If on the contrary, you got high pressure this way and your doors are like this, well, it's gonna finally open them by pushing. Here you're locking. The more pressure, the more locking. That's why those lock dam have got that shape. The V curve is always oriented towards the high pressure. I learned so much about lock dam I don't need, but that's very interesting because, yeah, that's what we see. We have the nozzle here, meaning high pressure is trying to get in there, and you would open them just a little bit to let the water in. You have those reinforcements, and the water is going to push the pressure, is going to push on the side, right? Here. So it's normal to have the reinforcement outside. Now here, the reinforcement seems to be inside. I don't think it's reinforcement. I think it's water intake from the higher basin flowing on the side and leveling. That's what I think it is. And maybe that's what the case here too, but I don't think. Not in our case. I think it's really reinforcement. Otherwise, you would have the mechanism inside and not outside. So, let's carry on an analysis of that strange shape, which could be a kind of a lock dam. The water intakes come from the ocean, and we know this is buried, since you have to go at least 40 feet down in the money pit to go to the hump. But we don't know the elevation, negative elevation of the hump. But I'm making just, let's say, 100 feet. Could be less. What we're saying here is, if it was really 100 feet of water on perpendicular sluice gate with la hampe pushing up and down that sluice gate, you have a serious problem there. You have a serious problem of pressure pushing on the side, a lot of it, a lot of pressure putting it, and making your mechanism stuck. Because so much pressure on this will not allow vertical movement. You would glue it, you would stick it to its areas, and it would be so much pressure this way, you cannot lift it up. It's a very well-known mechanism, and that's the reason why we do this, is that you can put pressure on this, I can still open it. So it's all about pressure, right? Now, on the other side, I can delete this. Yes, I can. On the other side, here, you've got your outflow, and that's what that little thing here is. And I try to figure out, why don't you outflow directly at the bottom? And the answer is obvious from a mechanical and fluid dynamics point of view. I'll get to that in just a second. So I think this picture is the design of some kind of a lock, maybe not dam because you don't have a ship going up and down, but to control water high pressure from the ocean and the vertical, because this is buried. And you need to be able to operate a sluice gate, which I believe is located here. Which I believe is located here, but not shown. And why do I believe that? Because of the following. Before I go to the following, let's see in context what it gives. In context, I would have my little apparatus, high pressure of water, and at the back here, I'm creating low pressure because of that little nozzle, of that little penis, excuse my French, at the back. It's restricting the diameter of the flow. And when you restrict diameter of the flow, you lower the pressure. And then like a rocket, the nozzle would open again, and you would get your high pressure back. Basically, I'm describing Bernoulli's law. This is the ocean on the left. I need to operate an apparatus to let it in and out. I'm going to put my sluice gate where I've got the less pressure, so I can easily going up and down. No pressure of water, little. So I can make it up and down. And then to get back my main pressure to the rest of my apparatus, I reopen my nozzle shape. That's basic it's not even hydrodynamic, it's static dynamic. Hydrostatic from Bernoulli's law. So it would make sense to have that shape in order to be able to control the vertical. So actually, my picture is wrong. If I take my picture correctly, and I zoom for you, the device is here. And la hampe is controlling something at the back here in the mechanism, inside that little noose, because that's where you get the less pressure. And then it reopens, and you must have a high velocity. Geez, that thing must be fizzing water out with a lot of velocity, not pressure, velocity, because you're going from a restricted nozzle to a higher nozzle. That's what I think it is. Let's carry on our investigations. So if you want to calculate the pressure on a sluice door, because I went all the way to this, what's the pressure if you got a vertical duct going down from the ocean, going down to this sluice gate, and you want to move it up and down? What is the strength exerted by the water onto this? And I got two models, the one, and I've got another one, which is very interesting, which is this one, where the sluice gate, is halfway through. What's the pressure there? A lot of pressure. And if you want to have fun, you can. I found this and I gave up. All right, I'm an engineer, but that was a long time ago. I went to school, so I'm not brain equipped to spend hours redetailing integrals and derivatives in order to calculate pressure. But people do, and people tell you need low pressure to manipulate those valves. So that's what they did. They put a low pressure, and the low pressure apparatus is described here. That's for your sluice gate here. The high pressure comes through here with this nozzle resisting and making sure it's waterproof. And your water gets in there, high pressure, and now it's a low pressure and probably goes back to the chamber with high pressure again. So that's why you get that it's a restrictor. That's what it is. It restricts the pressure. Okay, let's carry on. Next. So this we went through. Next one. So that's Le Barque is like this, and it makes sense in the position of the tunnel under the hump. And that's kind of okay. There's a water reduction system, water pressure. But now the other one. Is there another one? Because Le Bateau is one too. The Bateau, I personally think, after analyzing all this, there's only one apparatus, but it's described two times for two states. The Bateau seems to be floating. Remember, we found a floating, either a buoy or even a ship, where you see the mast and the transverse and the ship is on the side, maybe. But it's something floating in the eau. Eau means water in French, and you definitely can see that thing floating. So is it two devices? One you've got to locate, one we don't care. Or is it the same device in two different positions? Position one here, La Hampe controls it, and position two, what this water pipe restricted and then big feeds, it feeds the vault. And what's on the vault? You got the vault. What's floating? What we call the fancy, which is the chest, the treasure, whatever you call it. And we know that you can only access through the service tunnel. You can only access the fancy when the water is high pressure, goes up, and goes at this, and now the fancy is accessible, right? So isn't le bateau the fancy when le barque is the apparatus? Because if you go back to a couple of pictures behind, I'm under a tunnel. I need to construct a log dam. Why don't I recycle a small skiff, a small bark? It's got the right shape to resist water. I just need to reinforce the side. And I'm creating an entry in the hull there to bring water. I just need to slice this up. Maybe they have a mechanism. And at the back, I just need to put my little pipe for reducing pressure. And here I am. I don't have to reconstruct that in masonry or anything. I could recycle a bark, a skiff, to put water in the system so that the boat, which is the vault, the treasure vault, the thing floating in the vault, goes up and down. As you can see here, I'm not asked to locate anything. It's just showing that the boat is the next thing going on in your story. They could have almost sketched the vault here. They don't want to, of course. But maybe that's what it is. And you got two representations of the same mechanism because it's an important one, of course. That's a hypothesis I wanted to share with you. Now, in the Rochefoucauld Grail, which to me is a valid source of information also, that's the little skiff I was showing before. And I learned looking at this picture to check what's wrong. Because those guys who made those pictures were not amateurs. They knew what they were doing. And as all the pictures I've analyzed and shared with you so far, it's because there's something wrong there. Like the first picture with the, with the vault mechanism inside, embedded and hidden. There's something wrong. There's something wrong with that hidden bird. What was it? I can't remember the name. The puffin. It's wrong. Those guys knew what they were doing. They hide this there. So what does this picture tell me? That's my understanding. My understanding is that guy going up this ladder want to enter into that boat or that bark. That person here is looking straight up. Okay? Not at his friends. He's looking at his friend. He's looking at him. He's looking up, very up. What is he looking at? Other thing is this lady or guy, I don't know. She's holding his hand. She's blocking the blue water from going anywhere down. I think that's what it means there. She's blocking. She got a very firm hand there, and she's blocking the blue water. Colors mean something, believe me, in those pictures. So I think they're explaining here that this bark has got something to do with blocking the water. Now, look at that rudder. I've seen rudders in my life, right? I sail. This is a heck of a big chunk of a rudder with, what is this? Never seen anything like this on a rudder popping outside. Wouldn't this be a gate that, like a gate, a trap door that you can close and you close the water out? I don't know. Or would this be my little penis that is represented and that brings water to another place? I don't know. But what I know is I've never seen for this size of a boat, that size of a rudder, ever. So something's wrong in the proportion. One more thing that I think very strange is the way the ropes, I don't know the technical nautical vocabulary, I'm sorry, I know it in French but not in English. Why are they there? I checked with antiques. This is from Roman time, and indeed the shape of the sail at the time, they had two connections here and there, and to rotate that transverse bar that's supporting the sail, and the sail itself is held to the boat like this, so it's four square, and we can see here and here, fine. But this is not fine. Let's have a look again. This one. Yes, on a boat, to counter the act that the wind is pushing that way, you need to have something tying your top of the mast to the boat. And if you look at that picture, yes, they do a lot, but they are very, very near the mast. You don't have anything like this. In modern boats nowadays, you would have one here and one there. That's all. But at the time, look at it. And look at this one, the one in the middle. It's not at the right place. It's loose. It shouldn't be loose. It's holding the mast, bloody hell. And other thing is, look at the mast. The mast is going outside the picture. They like to do that sometime on picture. And he's looking at that. He's looking at that. He's looking at as if this was your hump control mechanism, you would rotate, and you would rotate this around its own axis, making it turn, swivel, I think in English, around the mast, reducing and shortening the length, controlling this rudder back and forth. Am I making it up? Okay, it's a bit too much. Fair enough. Okay, I'm 50% convinced myself about what I'm saying, but a couple of abnormalities there. Let me give you another one. You know this picture, because this picture, I had a full video about it. When you link this and this one and that one, you get the exact geometry of looking for the hump on Oak Island real map, as I demonstrated. Too many points of conjunction together. And this is Lancelot committing suicide. Oh, you have to read that book. It takes 2 years to read. But basically, on this picture, he's committing suicide. Not funny, buddy. So, what else on this picture? One night, about 4 months ago, I was coming home at night and I didn't switch the lights on, but there was a full moon. It is true what I'm saying. And that part here, what I saw was this, because of the lack of light. What I saw was, it was spitting in my eyes, was a boat. That's the boat. And with the right lighting, I try to remove some colors and contrast, so you can see that shape. I take it, this is a barque, this is a boat. And the other thing that doesn't work in that picture is this thing here. What the heck is this? Because I understand that's his cloth, that's his robe or tunic, or okay, fair enough, that's his shield. Okay, his legs, one and one behind, two. What is this with an orange side thing? I don't understand. And the only thing I can think of is blue is water. It's a water intake inside that lock dam. I think that could be it, a water intake or outtake. I think it's the intake. If somebody got any suggestion about what this is, please help us in the chat, trying to understand better. But this picture has got problems. I'm going to show you another problem. Another problem is here. Those people have been extremely careful with the coloring, the shapes, the details. And there's something that's triggering me for a month now, is the buckle of the belt itself. Okay, the belt is gray. Why all of a sudden the belt becomes blue? There was no fashion contest at the time. I don't think he had that fancy belt that nobody else had in the Middle Ages with the blue tip. No. The coloring here, the same coloring as there, is on purpose and is trying to draw attention by abnormality. And when you look at it in detail, and when you turn it, sorry about the quality, that's the best I can do with the picture available on the net. But what I did, if you still haven't found what I was leading to here, I took my magic pen, I went over all those shapes, that's what I got. Does that ring a bell now? If that still doesn't ring a bell, does that ring a bell now? You have the service entry from lamp going to this opening, and if the vault is in the right position, up and down because of buoyancy and floating, if you got water or not in the chamber, you will be able to access or not. You get the tunnel, and at one point a platform, which is not shown here, but this is a schematic, and you got water. This is blue, just like the rest, to show the water around is blue. It is the same, it's on purpose. And you got that white tunnel here that I put in red on my sketch. Sounds like an evacuation duct. And what's missing is the fancy boat that's floating on this, le bateau, which if you put water in there, the bateau will go up and the bateau will come into that second position where you can easily access it. Okay, the picture is tiny. The detail would be awesome if that was true, but at the same time, those people don't make mistakes. And this is wrong. The color of this end of belt is wrong because it shouldn't be the same color as the robe. And if I'm right believing this is la Barque, that is actually a lock dam mechanism, it is normal, it is full of water. this is water. It's open, so this is, I think, the opening mechanism behind the little penis, let's call it this way, but this is wrong and shouldn't be in the same color. So that's what I think. You can challenge it, of course. This is my point of view. What else do I have for you? This is it, and voila. So conclusions. Let me go back to the original picture. The author of this map, for which nothing is by chance, decided to use this shape twice to represent something they called le Barque, on which they put the same markers as the markers on the left-hand side of the island, where we can find and must find devices, but did not on the boat, and changed from they put la Barque on the right-hand side of the item, the icon, they put le boat on the left. Could it be dealing with some outtake, something coming out of that apparatus? That's one thing. Same shape, but not same position. What drives them? La Hampe, because we know this is the representation of La Hampe at 45,522. So they could be explaining that this apparatus needs to be found because that's what La Hampe locates, or at least you should locate its location. Probably this is working like this. Underground, service tunnel here. Well, actually I'm wrong. Service tunnel this way. Not service, but flooding tunnel this way. And opening, because here I need the pressure thing here. And the service tunnel on which you get La Hampe is here. You manipulate and maneuver this hump that manipulates and maneuver this in and outflow. And on the other side here, you enter the chamber. And if you're lucky and you're good and you put the fancy at the same place, you get your chamber working all right. A question I ask myself, if I have two devices, isn't it because I got two gates? Well, no, because if I can find again my picture here. Let me clean all this now. No, I don't think so, because the way this thing is designed, okay. If you've got one such apparatus here, why don't you have another one there, blocking the high pressure? Because this is more important. The back one is more important than this one. Why? If this one leaks water with the high pressure from the ocean, it will put the vault by default in a safe position you cannot access if it leaks. But if this one leaks, it will allow the same water to escape, and it will mean that by default the vault mechanism is in an accessible position. So they wanted to be super careful into making this totally sealed. How did they do that? They use a screw mechanism to exert force on the system, pressure, and they're lowering that thing, which I think I got a video with a zoom. I can try to zoom on it, but that thing is some kind of a vertical shaft, and it's got layers of something around, layers. And I think I mentioned that in an earlier video discussing with my dad about how did they seal things back in the Middle Ages. They said they would use leather. Leather would be waterproof, and at the same time would expand in the water, making sure you are fully waterproofing. So I think when this thing is in down position and is maintained by the pressure of the lock, of the screw here, this is very, very watertight, because you want to keep your water in high pressure in that vault to keep the locked position by default. So I think there's only one such apparatus. It's this one. Why you need it? Because of the high pressure you got there. And this is just an up and down sluice gate. When this got a screw, you can put pressure on me. With the screw, I can lift you up. Without the screw, I can't on the left. So there's one apparatus there, and it leads to the boat. That's what I think. Everybody takes care. That was a long video. I really enjoyed it. I hope you too. Thank you, and bye-bye.